So now that I've created the backend for the server and I've created my card, here it is. I've added a couple more shuttles and some more pictures and changed a bit of the data. I need to create a core component for it. The core component is what shows up on the core. So if I come here to my debug core and go here, here are all the different core components for all the different parts of the simulator. And I have a couple of different layouts. I'm going to have to stick this component into one of these layouts because they're very static right now, but that might change in the future. So here I have this 2fx layout, and I've got a great spot right there for this component, for this core. So let's create it really quick. I'm going to create a new file here in the shuttles folder called core. And I probably should create a template for this. But really, I could just copy and paste the index that I have because it already has all of the necessary queries and subscriptions and everything that I might need. So I'll do that for now. I won't need the shuttle bay necessarily because this is going to be much simpler. It doesn't have quite so much stuff. And then I'll clear out that. And actually, I'll just clear out all of this right now. I will keep the container though, well, actually I can just change that to a div. And then I'll change this to shuttles core, and that's all that I need. And then I can start writing out how this is all going to work. Let me clear out all of this up here too, because I won't need any of that. Okay. Really quick, I'm just going to put a P here that says this is the shuttles core. And then I also want to make sure that if there's no docking ports, that it tells them that there's no docking ports. So if, or actually, yeah, I'll do it in an if statement. If docking.length is 0, then return P, no shuttle bays. Okay, so that way if there's no shuttle bays, the core component will still render, but there won't be anything there. So if I save that, and now I have to come back here to my index, and I have to load it from that file. Okay, and then I also have to come down here to the cores, and I have to put it there so it's actually being exported. So now everything rendered properly, and it's not there because I haven't put it into my layout. So let's come here to my, actually, it should, maybe it's not there. Well, we'll find out. Let's go to my core right here, and I have my layouts in this folder, and here's my 2fx layout. And so what it does is it just loops through all of the cores and renders it to the page. So if I inspect this page, I should find my layout there somewhere. Right here at the bottom, shuttles core. It's just not visible because it's off screen somewhere. So what I need to do, this particular layout uses CSS grid in order to render and position everything. So what I'm going to do is come here, and this right here is the spot that I'm going to fill in. So if you're not familiar with CSS grid templates, it's pretty cool. Check it out. So it automatically puts a class on there, shuttles core, and then I just have to assign it to its grid area, which is shuttles. And it should just pop in there. Awesome. So there's my shuttles core. I'm going to try and keep this as simple as possible while making it fairly flexible. So let's go back to my core, and this is going to just render a table. And I suppose I could use the React strap. We'll see how it works just like this. So we can see here I've got the basic layout taken care of. I'll need to smush things a little bit, and my buttons are nice and small. Probably could just turn those into checkboxes, to be honest. So maybe I'll do that. So one thing to point out is I do have a couple of generic components for the core. So those are in the generic file right here in core. I've got an input field, which is one where you click on it and then it pops up saying, what do you want to type in here? I have an output field, which is just output. You're not supposed to be able to input or type in it at all. And then a typing field, which is one where you can type into it. So I'm going to use this typing field here for the name input. Okay, so now what you might be wondering is how do we get the images? Well, conveniently enough, I have a GraphQL query that allows you to grab all the images inside of a specific folder and then output them. I used it on the targeting core for the images there. So if I go to the core here, we'll find that query down here, asset folders, and then you can have an array of names for whatever names you want to get out of the asset folders, and then you can pull it out properly. So here I'll come in here and put this in here, and that's going to add that to my query, and then I just have to put in an array with the names that I want. So names, and I want docking images. So that's going to get all of the docking images. I save that, and just to make sure that I understand how this is working properly, I'm going to console log this.props.data, probably asset folders too. And that way I can see how my data is and then put it in properly. So looks like when I render this, looks like there was an error. A lot of errors. No idea why that's being so janky. I can't tell what the errors are here, and can't tell what they are here either. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I've got to define my variable names. So up here, I'll say names, and that's going to be an array of strings, not strong string. Okay, and now I can refresh this, and it should load just fine. And here I have my array, and it gives me a single object with containers, and then the containers has all of the names and the full path, which is what I'm going to need. So I can just map over this by doing this.props.data.asset folders, and that's that, and then grab the containers .map. There, that was easy enough, right? And then this is just going to render an option with the key of a.id, and the value is going to be a.fullPath, because I want to have that be the value that I use. And then in here it's going to be a.name. Okay, and so now that's going to render all of my different images in here. And since I already set it so that the value is d.image, it already shows the correct image there. And so changing this isn't going to do anything yet because I haven't set up the GraphQL mutations. So now all I need to do is make it so that when I check the boxes, it performs the mutation. If I change the name, it performs the mutation, and if I change the image, it performs the mutation. And that's all going to be in one handler because I have that convenient mutation that I created. So ID in which, and I can actually copy this almost verbatim from here since it was so so similar. Copy that there and then make whatever changes I need to make. But it's basically going to be whatever it is that I need it to be. Okay, awesome. There. So now whenever I change that, it's going to perform the mutation and it's going to set it to whatever value it needs to be. So I am going to have a little bit of logic here that handles all of that, but shouldn't be too bad. For example, in the typing field, let me find that. I'll just come here and go like that. And then go like that. In the typing field, it provides me with an onBlur and a onChange property. I'd probably just want to use onBlur and to make it so that it's not changing every time I type in there. And so here I'll go onBlur equals, oh, and one more thing I need to do. In this generic, it also has a controlled as a property for if it should be a controlled input or not a controlled input. So I'll just add controlled there because I want it to be controlled based on the value coming from the database. OnBlur is going to give us an event, and here I'm going to run the update shuttle method. Oh, I need to make sure that I set this up right so that it points to the correct this. This just makes it so that it uses an arrow function, so it points to the this of the component. It's a handy little thing there. So I need the ID, I need the which is name, and I need the value, which is event.target.value. Awesome. And I can probably copy this right here for most of these. So each of these needs an onChange, and I'll just change this to be checked and change this to be whatever value I'm changing. And then finally for the image, this is also going to be an onChange, but it's going to be event target value. Okay, so that actually is pretty much all I need for this core. That was remarkably easy to put together. So if it updates on the core, I know that it's actually working. So if I do alpha 1, then it looks like it updated and it's working fine. If I come here, update it as well to alpha 1, delta 2, and there it is there. And then if I put Foxtrot back in, there it is. And if I change the image for this to be bug, then it changes there. And then when I change things here so we can see that the clamps are not attached, if I attach the clamps, then I can see it update there. So that's basically how you create your core component. Just want to make sure you keep it in the same folder so it's nice and tight. You can copy from the card component that you made to get all the subscriptions and queries just right there. And then you can use the generic core components that were created for the inputs. This right here is the typing input, this is the input control, and this is the output control. And then you want to make sure that you stick it into a layout somewhere, or make sure that you're using a core with dynamic layouts. So that's about it. Thank you for watching.